Hi, everyone. Welcome to the FAO Schwarz Fellowship Info Session. I'm Taylor Reese. I am the Senior Fellowship Manager here at the Fellowship. I work really closely with our Executive Director, Priscilla Cohen. I was actually also a fellow at Europe United in Philadelphia from 2019 to 2021. I coached students in the program as part of my fellowship and did marketing and social media for the organization. After I graduated from the fellowship, I stayed on with Europe United and worked on their national marketing team as a full-time employee. Now I work as a senior digital marketing manager at Jobs for the Future, which is another workforce development nonprofit. I'm also pursuing my MBA part-time at Clemson. So current FAO Schwartz Fellows and I will be providing an overview of the fellowship, and then we'll answer your questions. So feel free to type those in the Q&A function as you think of them. We'll be recording today's session, which you can find on our YouTube channel probably sometime tomorrow. So, what is the fellowship? The fellowship is about preparing you for a career in social impact and social change. It's about addressing systemic problems and leading the way with systemic solutions. That takes imagination, commitment, and all kinds of leadership skills. The fellowship's goal is to help put you on the path to be able to lead the change. There's not one kind of college, experience, or archetype of a fellow. Fellows are delightfully different, with varied passions and courses of study under their belts, but they all share a deep commitment to social impact and social change. They want to make an impact in the communities they serve and enrich people's lives in the process. Now I'll turn it over to Shraddha to talk a little bit more about the fellowship experience.
I'm Shraddha. I'm a second-year fellow at Reading Partners New York, which is a national nonprofit that focuses on early literacy intervention. For my strategic project work, I manage federal work-study partnerships in the New York region. College students who have federal work-study awards are able to earn those by doing service with us off campus, and my job is basically onboarding them and providing ongoing support. They cover about a quarter of all of our tutoring sessions every year, so we're super thankful for our colleges and university partnerships. For my direct service work, I tutor students at one of our partner elementary schools in Brooklyn. So what is social impact and why is it important? As I'm sure many of you know, social impact just means social change. So any significant or positive change that solves or addresses a social challenge or injustice. This is something that can be operationalized in a number of meaningful ways and areas. So things like health, education, the arts, and the environmental stewardship. Social impact is important because it yields tangible improvements in communities that ultimately contribute to a better quality of life for individuals and for society as a whole. So how is the fellowship structured? It's a paid position and a 2-year commitment where you can work at a leading nonprofit host organization in one of 3 cities. So that's either Boston, New York, or Philadelphia. Both the strategic project work and the direct service are critical to the fellowship experience. So strategic projects build organization reach, impact, and capacity. They're tailored to specific organization capacities that you might be interested in. Your direct service work is direct engagement with the communities that your organization serves. Professional development is another major component of the experience and one of the most valuable. The fellowship fosters opportunities to build skills and learn more about social equity issues, both internally through your organization and engagement with this multidimensional work model, and also throughout the fellowship program. You'll have access to org leaders and learn about different social impact initiatives at diverse organizations during the retreats and maybe through relationships with cohort members. You'll also engage with special workshops and trainings during these retreats, which really help to hone particular competencies and facilitate reflection about your own experience. This is combined with ongoing mentoring that's committed to developing your abilities as a leader. After the fellowship, you'll come away with greater experience and a more interesting skill set or set of relationships than you would have after 2 years in another entry-level nonprofit job. Lastly, there's also the cohort experience. As a fellow, you have access to current fellows as well as alumni fellows to explore careers and different approaches to solving social problems. It's also helpful for personal questions, whether it's about grad programs that you're applying to or who to contact at a host organization you might be interested in learning more about. And with that, I'm going to pass the presentation over to Michael.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. I am Michael, originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I am the second-year fellow at the Food Trust, which is in Philadelphia. For my direct service component, I'm part of the Food Trust's Farm to School team, part of our education team. So I do nutrition education in a number of different middle schools and elementary schools in Philadelphia. And I also facilitate youth leadership projects with different student groups in Philadelphia, helping them to address and identify issues that they face in their communities and their schools, centered around food justice and gardening, helping maintain school gardens and start school gardens as well. For my strategic project, I help run communications for the PA Farm to School Network, which is a collaborative of folks who do farm to school work all across Pennsylvania. So I write monthly newsletters, do blog posts, success stories, and do all kinds of networking and collaborative work with people all across the state. So FAO partners with a variety of different nonprofits. Here, as you can see on the screen, are an example of some of the fellowship hosts, some of our current and past fellowship hosts. Hosts can cover a wide range of fields from environmental justice to educational equity, literacy, arts, food justice, and arts outreach. While a lot of these hosts may range in size and mission, the work they all do relates to one another and revolve around social impact. All of these hosts have track records of real impact and strong leadership. The fellowships are based in 3 cities, as you can see, Boston, Philadelphia, and New York. There are approximately 6 to 7 fellows that come on board each year and are spread across these 3 cities. Because this is a 2-year program, that means that at any given time, there are typically 12 to 14 fellows in total. And in addition to having other fellows in your city, there's also a network of alumni fellows in each city. And so these are people who have also done the fellowship, usually at the same organization that you did your fellowship at. And so these are people who are really great resources to connect with for any kind of help or guidance, and just really great people to be in contact with. And so each fellow is paired with an alumni mentor who is available for any guidance. And there's always dinners and kind of meetups that happen with the alumni fellows and the fellows. So fellowship host organizations are a little different from other employers, and they will have different expectations of you. They will assume you have a strong interest in making a difference in the world, that you are willing to engage in creative problem solving, that you have a strong desire to lead projects and initiatives, and most importantly, that you have willingness to learn, grow, and adapt. So now I will pass it over to Julie. Oh, you're muted, Julie.
Plastic. Okay. Hello, my name is Julie, and I am the second year fellow with Audubon Mid-Atlantic in Philadelphia. And so for the fellowship itself, we're going to talk a little bit about how it's structured and the actual work that you'll be doing. It is a multi-dimensional experience that includes both direct service, and that includes work with the people and the communities that are served by the organization, as well as strategic project work. These are projects designed to build the organizational capacity of the organization. For my direct service, I design and deliver conservation education curriculum to every class in every grade K through 5 in 3, and then this year 4 local partner schools surrounding the Discovery Center. And I coordinate and lead field trips either to the Discovery Center or on site in those schools, schoolyards for as many of these classes as possible to expand on in-class learning with hands-on examples. I also plan and lead an after-school garden club at one of my partner schools, and I lead extracurricular stewardship opportunities for students and families at these partner schools, like community gardening nights and block cleanups. Over the summers, I continue these lessons and field trips at local camps and recreation centers. As for my strategic project, I work with other education staff at the Discovery Center to expand public programs at the Discovery Center, like our Discovery Days, through on-site support and print/social media outreach, but I also develop new programs. So, for example, I'm now leading a monthly nature journaling workshop series that encourages participants of all ages to connect with and enrich the ecosystems that surround them. So just a little bit more about the difference between these two parts of your job. Typically in early career jobs, you would concentrate on either direct service, engaging with the public, or a strategic project building organizational capacity. But the fellowship is kind of unique because you can do both. By going into the classroom, I'm able to interact directly with students in the next generation. And then by broadening that engagement to a wider audience at the Discovery Center, I can really help our team take a step back and and evaluate the areas of the natural world that people are drawn to and inspired by, and brainstorm pathways for community members to go from just appreciating the environment to taking action to protect it. Another aspect of the fellowship, your actual job duties, is going to be in the vein of professional development. So it not only enhances your professional competencies, but it also helps you excel in your position. It ensures that your knowledge and your skills are up to date and builds awareness of changing trends, researches, and approaches to social impact. The FAO Schwarz Fellowship Professional Development is especially focused on building up your leadership potential. And one of the main ways that we receive professional development is through our retreats. So retreats happen 2 times a year and rotate among the 3 cities where the fellows are based, either New York, Boston, or Philly, and they are usually 4 days long. They include workshops, speakers, site visits, presentations, and guided discussions. The fellows play a huge role in planning these retreats, and the program is designed to reflect the fellows' needs and interests. There are a ton of leadership opportunities available within your host organization as well, so you can get leadership opportunities outside of just planning the retreats. As a part of the fellowship, one of those biggest opportunities obviously is planning the retreats, but your organizations are set up to provide those stepping stones to leadership for you. So, for example, I've been able to take on leadership roles in multiple ways during my time with Audubon, from creating and leading native pollinator garden projects at local schools to managing partnerships and creating collaborative events with local organizations to creating the brand new nature journaling series. These opportunities really helped me to build my skills in project management, communication, and community engagement. And there will be most likely similar projects that you can have the freedom to explore and embrace and take on at your host organization, so that you will be able to build your leadership capacity in a similar way. And so with that, I am going to turn the presentation over to Alex.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex, and I am a second-year fellow at the Museum of the City of New York in New York City. For my direct service work, I lead school groups from grades K to 12 through our galleries on guided tours that are focused on New York City's past, present, and even future culture. In my strategic project work, I focus on accessibility, trying to find and implement ways to make our school programs and the museum as a whole more accessible for disabled visitors. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the fellowship cohort and network. And I must say that the fellowship would not be the fellowship without the cohort experience and network, and in fact is one of the main reasons that I applied for this fellowship specifically. Not only do I have a strong support system of colleagues at my host nonprofit, but I also have Priscilla, who is not on this call today. I have the current fellows, my alumni mentor, and a great network of alumni beyond them. Leaving college and going into the real world, so to speak, felt really daunting to me, and especially living in today's era in a world that is still being impacted by COVID-19, in which many people work remotely, it can be hard to make deep connections. However, this fellowship has really helped to build those connections for me, allowing you to not only develop professionally, as Julie was mentioning, but personally as well. Shortly after starting the fellowship, I had dinner with with the other current New York City fellows, including Jacob and Trada, who are on this call, as well as some of the now alumni fellows. And this has created a really strong bond between the other fellows in my year. And to this day, we still make an effort to get dinner once a week. In fact, we are having that dinner tonight, and a tradition that we have now invited our newest New York City fellows into. And it has been just so wonderful. And being an FAO fellow has really given me the incredible opportunity to make friends who are just as passionate about social impact work as I am, which is something that I am forever grateful for. And when I accepted the fellowship position, I knew that I was going to have a support system, not only professionally, but also personally. And I know that this is going to continue well past my time as an FAO fellow. And now, talking about our alumni network, I am going to turn it over to Genevieve.
Hi, everyone. My name is Genevieve, and I'm a current first year fellow at Hudson River Park's River Project in New York City, originally from Southern California, though. And at my organization, my direct service includes teaching field trips about river ecology, fishing, and drop-in programming, and mentoring high school students. My strategic project is more focused on working with our estuarine sanctuary management plan and creating new evaluation tools for park projects. And today I'm going to be sharing a bit about what our fellows do after the fellowship is over. The fellowship is a great opportunity and it serves as a launch pad for the rest of your career. After completing the fellowship, fellows end up in vastly different places, whether that be advancing your education or sticking to work in the nonprofit field. Outcomes for each fellow vary greatly, but the majority have gone on to conduct social impact work. As far as numbers go, about 80% of fellows over the last 3 years were offered permanent roles at their host organizations. 62% of these fellows have obtained or are currently pursuing graduate or professional degrees in a range of programs, including education, social work, business, law, art, and others. And at large, 92% of fellows continue working in the nonprofit sector or social impact field. These are pretty great turnarounds, and each post-fellowship experience is really unique. How do you choose to advance your education or career after the fellowship is entirely up to you. And we're all here to help you get there. There is so much value in this 2 year experience, ranging from professional development opportunities, project management, direct service, leadership skills. The list goes on and on. And all of these skills are easily transferable to careers, especially in the nonprofit sector, but they can also be applied to grad school and many other careers. So there's a ton to gain from this experience. From enhanced career opportunities to the possibility of higher education applications like your master's or PhD, the fellowship can offer so much. I just want to end my section by reiterating the point that there's a ton of career diversity among our alumni. Alumni fellows pursue graduate school's degree in a variety of fields, including urban planning, education, social work, business, art, law. Like I said before, a ton of things you can do. They are working in a variety of fields, as you can see from our sample list of 9 alumni. Samantha Perlman, Greg Wright, and Ryan Telnigator have taken up roles in city and state governments. Joe Rosales, Karen Wilbur, and Clara Monk are working on issues surrounding educational access. Nick Mitch is working in environmental justice, and Lauren Brincat is working as an arts organization curator. These are just a few of our alumni fellows, and those not included have just as a diverse range of post-fellowship careers. With that, I'll pass it off to Delaney.
Hello, my name is Delaney. I'm a first year fellow at the Museum of Science in Boston. At the museum, my direct service work includes facilitating in-gallery learning activities for museum visitors, helping to organize and lead our internship programs over the summer and our partnership work with Fenway High School, and teaching at the museum's satellite location of Harvard Medical School's Med Science program, where we provide local high schoolers with hands-on experiences in simulated emergency room settings. And my strategic project is to help plan and implement large-scale youth events. For example, right now we are planning for our Biology High School Science Series event, which will be held in February, and I am currently coordinating with community partners who will be attending the event and helping to finalize all of the logistics. I'm so excited to share the host organizations for the 2026 to 2028 fellowship cohort. So in Philadelphia, Audubon Mid-Atlantic will host one fellow. This organization returns a third time as a fellowship host, where the fellow will focus on education and engaging the community in conservation and the environment. In New York City, the Brooklyn Public Library, which is new to the fellowship this year, will host one fellow, while longtime partner Reading Partners will host two. Both programs will focus on literacy and reading and have outstanding records of social impact. And in Boston, the Trustees of Reservations, also new to the fellowship, will host one fellow focused on environmental education, and 826 Boston, a returning host dedicated to inspiring students through writing, will host two fellows. I will now dive deeper into each of the positions' roles, but if you want to read more about any of the positions, the FAO Schwarz Fellowship website contains a more in-depth look at them. Okay, so first up is Boston. And this year, 826 Boston will host two fellows in unique roles, the Publishing Fellow and the Data Evaluation Fellow. Interested candidates may apply to one or both of these positions. The Publishing Fellow will provide individualized writing support across 826 Boston's programs and develop processes and tools to provide more students with access to 826 Boston's publishing program and expand the program's array of print and digital publications. The Data Evaluation Fellow will provide individualized writing support across 826 Boston's programs and enhance and expand the suite of program assessment tools utilized by 826 Boston to more meaningfully measure how students' skills develop during their tenure in 826 Boston's programs and increase the organization's ability to communicate its impact. At the trustees, their one fellow will co-lead Mobile Adventures, a nature-based educational program for their direct service work, and lead the evaluation and strategic expansion of the Boston Waterfront Ambassador Program in alignment with the trustees' new plans for their strategic project work. Next up is New York City. So at the Brooklyn Public Library, this fellow will engage families experiencing homelessness by visiting shelters in Brooklyn to lead story times, arts and crafts activities, and connect families with BPL resources for their direct service work. And it will strengthen BPL's role as a public institution by identifying areas of need, creating new resources, developing new opportunities and partnerships, and evaluating the success of BPL's offerings to families living in shelters and serve through satellite services for their strategic project work. Reading Partners will also be hosting two fellows. The Community Engagement Fellow will serve as a valuable partner of the community engagement team, playing a key role in supporting the successful recruitment and engagement of multi-hour volunteer partnerships, which provide over 20% of tutoring sessions annually. The Powered by Reading Partners Fellow will serve as a tutor, providing one-on-one instruction to students in grades K through 4 for their direct service work, and serve as a valuable member of the program team, playing a key role in supporting the Powered by Reading Partners program model management for their strategic project work. In Philadelphia, we have Audubon Mid-Atlantic, and this fellow will deliver science curriculum to 1st through 5th grade students through in-class lessons at partner schools and help implement a strategy for Audubon Mid-Atlantic to build and strengthen their Strawberry Mansion audience and create deeper community connections. With that, I am now going to pass the presentation over to Shoshi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shoshi. I am originally from Iowa City, Iowa, but I am now the other first-year fellow here in Boston at Boston Collegiate Charter School in Dorchester. My direct service work is small group literacy interventions, working with students to close their literacy gap if they have one, mostly in the high school. I do also work with our lower school students as well. And my strategic project work is documenting and disseminating best practices in education here at the school. So that often looks like writing articles that we send to get published in journals and working on talking points for visits, tours, and panels. Now I'm just going to review some of the nitty-gritty of the fellowship. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is salary, and the salary is competitive with other fellowships and with early career nonprofit positions and reflects the cost of living in the host cities. In Boston and New York, where the cost of living is higher, fellows will earn $52,000 in their first year and $58,000 in their second year. In Philadelphia, where the cost of living is lower, fellows will earn slightly different salaries depending on their host organization. Fellows will earn $47,000 in their first year and $53,000 in their second year. Now to go over the benefits, fellows will receive the same benefits as an entry-level employee at the host organization. In addition, fellows receive professional development and leadership training through the FAO Schwarz Fellowship Program. While the foundation does not provide housing for fellows, we've developed some resources to help incoming fellows in finding housing in their host city, which is a very helpful city guide that Taylor will be sharing. I definitely used it when I was moving here to Boston. Now on the screen are the eligibility criteria for the fellowship. So you must be a current graduating senior, so between November 2025 to summer 2026 from a 4-year accredited college. I know some people had some questions about that in the chat. You also must be a U.S. citizen or legally permitted to work in the United States for the 2-year duration of the fellowship. So I also saw some questions about that. You must demonstrate a strong interest in social justice and social equity, and you must have a strong academic record and a record of leadership on your campus or in your community. Now the application components. Now there is an application form that is just a confirmation of eligibility and basic candidate information. You'll upload a PDF of your resume that details education, experience, and achievements. And then there will be some short answer questions, such as why are you interested in being an FAO Schwarz Fellow? Why are you interested in being the FAO Schwarz Fellow with this host organization? What background and experiences will you bring to the direct service and special project work at this organization? And tell us about a meaningful leadership experience you've had. And there's more info about new fellowships and how to apply on our website. Now, I'll do a quick review of the application timeline, the most important of which is that the deadline is coming up soon, February 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern. Applications for the next cohort have been open, and we encourage you to follow us on social media. You'll hear about the experiences of our current fellows and some of our alumni fellows. If you signed up for today's session, then you're already on our mailing list, and we'll send you an occasional email about the fellowship experience and any important announcements. And if you're not on the mailing list, we'll post a link in the chat where you can sign up. Now we have one more upcoming event before the deadline, which is an Ask Me Anything, an AMA on January 29th, featuring Reva and Jacob. They'll be answering your final questions before applications are due, and they'll be answering those on Instagram. So speaking of Jacob, I will turn the presentation over to him.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob, and I am the second-year fellow or other second-year fellow at Reading Partners New York City. For my direct service work, I tutor students at one of our partner sites in Brooklyn. And my strategic project involves managing our tutoring partnerships with outside community organizations and also leading our family engagement workshops where I train caregivers on how to best support children's literacy development at home. So thank you to everyone who's been putting in questions in our Q&A. We're going to take about 10 to 12 minutes to answer questions. We'll get through as many as possible, starting with a question from Marissa. Have recent fellows found the fellowship salary appropriate for the cost of living? I'm particularly concerned about housing costs in New York City. And I'll pass this to Shoshi to answer.
So I'm going to combine this with someone also asked a question about resources for housing. So like I said, there's that guide that Taylor posted in the chat. And like housing is the main concern, I'd say, with cost of living. And Boston, New York are more expensive cities, and the fellowship doesn't itself help you find housing. But I personally was able to find 2 pretty good situations. So like using your own networks and figuring things out like that is really helpful. So I was with a friend at her family house while her parents were on sabbatical for the fall. And now I'm a part of like a specific Jewish housing network that provides subsidized housing for throwing community events. So finding specific resources like that is really useful. And that has made the cost of living really doable for me here in Boston. I know other people who are from New York who've lived at home. And so that was helpful. But otherwise, there are just a lot of ways to make it work. I don't know necessarily how as much as how the New York fellows do it, but that's my experience in Boston.
Yes, to add to that, I think Alex actually created a really great housing guide if you are looking for tips on finding housing. Street Easy is great, Facebook groups. There are resources out there that the fellowship can provide. As a New York City fellow, I will say that you don't save much from month to month. You guys are making more than us. But it's doable. We all live here. Cook a good amount, and it's livable. Unless anyone else wants to add anything to that. Otherwise, our next question is, are the projects and service work determined by the organization or what fellows come up with? And I'm going to pass this to Julie to answer.
Yeah, so I'm answering, I think, kind of like Ava and Olwethu's question are kind of similar. So your host organization had to apply to host a fellow with an idea in mind for your strategic project. So they already have an idea in mind for what you will be doing for your strategic project. However, if you have input and suggestions or just ideas that come to you that you really want to pursue and think about, I am confident that your host organizations would be willing to work with you as long as you are still fulfilling um, the the like bullet points, I guess, of your fellowship that you set out to do. I kind of, when I came into Audubon, my strategic project was a little bit vague. It was just kind of helping out with public programs at the Discovery Center. And so I was able to kind of use my own background and passions to take that in a direction that has been really fulfilling for me. So I hope that answers your question.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie. Okay, next question is what makes a strong candidate? So volunteer experiences, for example. And I'll pass this to Delaney to answer.
Yeah, so I feel like a strong candidate kind of differs based on host site. But kind of also grouping this question in with some other questions that were asked. There isn't really like a major or particular like work experience or anything that you need to have for your particular host site. Like I work at the Museum of Science, but we have people from all different backgrounds. Like some people only education backgrounds, some people theater backgrounds, some people science backgrounds. What unites a lot of people, at least from my experience, is like how dedicated you are to the mission of the organization. And also just like tying together different experiences from a bunch of different parts of your background. So like it could be a class you've taken, it could be like you're ahead of a certain club. It could be different experiences you had growing up that might make you a good candidate. So there's not one like cookie cutter image. It's just make sure your passion kind of shines through for the organization. Make sure you've done your research, and craft a good story for why like a collection of your experiences will make you a good fit for this particular organization.
Nice. Next question is what is the experience like working with the staff and teams in the host organizations? How would you describe the culture and professional community in that setting? And I'll pass this to Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. Also gonna answer Callie's question about if we feel well integrated into both the host organizations and the fellowship itself. They kind of go hand in hand. But yeah, I mean, I can speak to my experience, right? We all will kind of have different experiences depending on the organization that we're at. But for me, I am very grateful and very lucky to have very supportive, welcoming supervisors, and just all the staff at my host organization are all just very kind, passionate, dedicated people who really, you know, want everyone to show up as their best selves. And so the people at my place of work really kind of value us as people first rather than employees. And so it's a very welcoming and great space to be in, which in effect makes all of us kind of show up and want to do the work as best as we can. Um, and so yeah, I'm very lucky to have really great coworkers and supervisors. Um, and in terms of culture, and kind of the setting, a lot of the work that we do at my org and at the other orgs as well is kind of community driven and in the communities themselves. And so we are in a lot of different schools. We work at farmers markets. We are in corner stores, community gardens, just all different kinds of places, which make for a really just kind of rooted and grounded work experience, which I really appreciate. Getting to really connect and get close with community members, neighbors, residents. And so it's a really great mix of kind of like office work, but also truly getting to, build connections and relationships with folks in the community. And then also, yeah, definitely feel very well integrated with my place of work, but also the fellowship for sure. I Yeah, all of the fellows, we were all very close and just kind of connected right away. And it's yeah, very grateful for the relationships that I've been building with everyone here. So
Cool. Thanks, Michael. Next question is, if you are applying for one of the environmental fellowships, do you need a background in environmental studies? And I'll pass this to Genevieve to answer.
Yeah, I'll just breeze through really quickly since kind of Delaney touched on this a bit in one of her responses. But I'm currently working at an environmental organization in New York, and I have a social science background. So I didn't have a lot of experience in that hands-on environmental technical science side. But it definitely was not a hindrance to my application. You were able to pull, as Delaney said, from pieces of your background that can apply. And if it's something that you're passionate about, regardless of whether you have those technical skills, you can still be an asset to the team.
Nice. Next question is it recommended to have a car during the fellowship? Do host organizations help you get around your different work sites, or is that left up to you? And I think Julie was going to take this one.
Yeah, so your host organizations, if you are a fellow who um, has to travel from different works to and from different work sites, you should be given some sort of stipend or reimbursement for your travel costs. When I first started at my fellowship, obviously I had to travel around to different school sites. Luckily, they were all pretty close to the Discovery Center in the same neighborhood. But I would have to use the bus occasionally to get around to some of them, and that was pretty challenging, especially carrying all of my materials from to and from. But my host organization did provide a travel stipend to me for transit. However, I did end up getting a car, and I do find it a lot easier to get around with a car. But I think that's going to depend on where your sites are located and how far apart they are. So I would say it's doable without a car, depending on where your sites are, but it definitely does help to have one.
Thanks, Julie. Next question is a two-year fellowship is a big commitment, and once accepted, how did you know that this opportunity felt right for you? Were there any moments upon starting that you felt a confirmation that this was an exciting step for your future? Great question. I'm gonna pass this to Genevieve to answer.
Hi again. I think that is a super great question. I think this time in your lives, like post grad, very daunting moments, are coming up soon. So prepare yourselves. But a fellowship like this really does fulfill you with all of those different moments where it can feel like I'm actually heading in like a correct direction. And so I to like during the start of my fellowship, getting like Alec had mentioned those dinners with the current second year fellows and being like welcomed in that community was really helpful. And then even in the like working side, my bosses were really particular about like having a specific start date for my position, having me start at the beginning of the summer with the rest of our seasonal team. So it was like 20 people's first day as opposed to just my first day. And like your bosses, if you're lucky enough to have good bosses, which I think you will, are going to be really dedicated to making sure that you're feeling welcome in their atmosphere. They know kind of this particular position you're starting in is new for everybody. And so they don't expect you to be coming in with all of this experience. And so being able to see like, they love when I make a mistake because it means I'm learning has been like super helpful in starting that post-grad journey.
Awesome. Next question, what are your favorite or most rewarding parts of your experience so far? I'm gonna pass this to Delaney.
This is a fun question. So there's a lot of parts of my work that I love so much. I think my favorite part overall is just working with youth. I'm on the youth engagement team, and so I get to work with all the visitors that come to the museum, so like the infants to like people that are a lot older than I am. But I also get to work with our internship program, so like all of the high school students that we partner with, and it's just really fun to get to work with youth in an informal education setting. So it's like a lot more relaxed and fun, and we can inspire them to love science at the museum. Um, Another one of the most rewarding parts of my experience so far is just learning a bunch of skills that I never would have gotten another opportunity to learn. Like it's a really unique experience getting to learn some of these at the museum. Um, One of them is like large scale event organization. We just had like 3 events in December and we had thousands of visitors come to them. And it was just really cool to get to use the museum's resources to bring science to people on a really big scale. And there's so many aspects of organizing that I didn't even know about until I got here. And so I just feel like I've learned a lot, kind of going off of learning a lot. I also get really cool content experiences too. So like I'm part of our med science program, which I kind of talked about through Harvard Medical School, and I've learned how to like intubate patients, give people IVs, a whole bunch of stuff that I just never would have thought I would be able to do. And I'm really happy that the fellowship gave me these opportunities.
Actually sounds really cool. Another question, will teachers be present for lessons, field trips, etc.? If not, do applicants need to be certified in child CPR? Julie, do you want to answer this one?
Yes, I cannot speak to all organizations that work with students, but I can speak from the perspective of Audubon Mid-Atlantic, where all of our in-class lessons and field trips that come to the Discovery Center, we require that there be at least one teacher present, one chaperone from their school and from their class present with us. That just helps with behavior management and safety and all kinds of things like that. So I personally had to get like a background check and my clearances run, but I did not have to get a CPR certification. I'm sure a CPR certification would be helpful, as it always is, but there should not be a time when you are put solely in charge of a large group of children. You should usually have some extra assistance, either from another staff member in your organization or from their actual teacher.
Awesome. And we have time for one last question, and I'm going to choose. Can one of you talk about your experience at one of the professional development retreats? Does anyone want to take this one? I've been on a couple now, so I can take it. They're really fun. It's about 4 to 5 days. The length kind of varies, but usually around there. And each day is kind of dedicated to visiting one of the host organizations. So you'll go to one of the host organizations, spend a full day there. You'll usually have like a panel where you're meeting different leadership members of the teams from different teams from that organization. You're learning a lot about different roles, what the other fellows do at that specific organization. And then after that full day at the host organization where you're learning a lot about what they do, there's a lot of unstructured bonding time with fellow fellows. I got a tarot card reading that gave me a really good future for this next year, so I'm super excited to delve into that. But yeah, a lot of bonding between your other fellows and a lot of learning about what other organizations do. And regardless of what you're interested in, I think it's a really cool opportunity to see or get a peek into what the other fellows are doing in other areas of nonprofit work that can be really interesting. But that's all the time we have for questions for now. Thank you once again for attending our info session today. Check us out on social media, on Twitter and Instagram. We are at FAO Fellows. And if you have any more questions, which I'm sure many of you do, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at the email listed. So that's contact@faoschwarzfellowship.org. And we would also greatly appreciate if you fill out a brief survey that's going to come up right now as you leave the webinar. But thank you again for joining and have a great rest of your Tuesday.
Bye, everyone.